All right, Managing Life 101.
Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Susan.
Okay. Managing life, 5 areas of life:
Yeah.
physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, financial. I originally came up with those areas um, when I'd been in prison and I was coming up for deportation slash parole. But although in my case it wasn't parole, it was deportation back to the United States. And you have to give a talk in front of, I believe it was 4 men, um, as to why you deserve to be sent home before your sentence is up. And I explained to them, I said, I've changed myself completely. I said, I've changed myself physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and I haven't been able to do much financially because of where I am, but I will once I get home. And then I explained how I had changed myself. I said I work out every day, because I can. I go to the chapel. I'm part of the chapel program, and I really enjoy it. I joined Toastmasters. I was in 3 separate prisons, and the third one was kind of nice in a way, although it was locked down. I mean, but it had Toastmasters. You could go anywhere by yourself. You could have a softball game and nobody would get beaten with the ball bat, you know. And it was kind of, there was hardly any cussing,
Yeah.
let alone beatings and stabbings and all that, which was wonderful. And so, yeah, I joined Toastmasters, worked out, chapel program. I used to love to listen to this guy named Tom Hopkins, who was a motivational speaker, and he was a real estate guy. So I would go to the library and listen to the 8-track tapes of Tom Hopkins, and it really motivated me. And I read. I read all the time. I read Louis L'Amour novels about the Old West and the code of the West, and how the early cowboys always took care of business, meaning with the range, the cattle, the homestead, and then set things right if there was a wrong committed by someone. But I love the character and the integrity and the fairness that I read in the Louis L'Amour novels. And so when I got up in front of the deportation board and talked about how I had changed myself, one of them asked me, because they know everything about you. They have reports from the guards from like almost day one. And one of them said, you quit smoking. And I said, yeah, I quit smoking about 9 months in. And because, I wanted to change everything about myself. I don't want to be the old person. I want to be the new person now. And I was granted deportation. And I will never forget that when I was thinking to myself, when I get back to LA, um, everything is accessible. The clubs, girls, drugs, everything, all the old life stuff will be accessible, and everybody that I was ever associated with is going to want to come by and see me. So I started writing letters to everyone, making sure they knew that I no longer want to participate in that.
Yeah.
And I even worried about, listen, this is funny. When I flew into Canada bringing drugs with me, I bought connoisseur class ticket, which meant that I had unlimited alcohol, and that I wanted it that way. When they sent me back home, they replaced that same ticket, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to drink, and I don't want the flight attendant to even kind of like ask me, what are you gonna have to drink? And because I don't want to drink. And the good news is I don't even remember if she ever did. I got off the flight. The next day I got to an AA meeting. I started working out. I started doing all I said to myself, I'll do all the things on the outside that I did on the inside, and my life will start to take shape, and I'll be able to build a life on the outside the same way I built a life on the inside by doing the exact same things.
Yeah.
And I did that. And with Susan, in my life years later, when we started mentoring people, we started covering
Those
those
5 areas of life.
5 areas of life.
Yeah. And it's so great because I'd never really heard it put that way before. And when I met Jim and we started dating, then got married, and he introduced me and told me about these 5 areas of life.
Mhm.
And I realized I had been doing that also,
Mhm.
and I just didn't know how to really call it that.
Yeah.
The 5 areas of life, which
Mhm.
was so great. And that's why we love managing life. When we say managing life 101, these are kind of the basics.
They are.
And what they are, they're the things that will help you manage your life
Mhm.
so that it doesn't manage you.
That's right.
And those in those 5 areas, each one of those areas needs to be managed also.
Mhm.
And if one of those areas gets off, then what it does is it kind of throws everything out of kilter.
It affects all the other areas.
It does. It's like it's like envision that you have a piece of paper and there are 5 triangles. It's divided up into 5s.
Mhm.
And in the center is an absolute 1, 0, and on the outside going around is a 10. And if you took and you rated each one of those 5 segments,
Mhm.
and say you weren't all at 10 or you weren't all at 9 or 8, but maybe one is a 2 and one is a 5, and and then you drew a line to connect those dots,
Mhm.
it would be kind of a bumpy ride.
It would.
The circle would be a little rough.
Yeah. If life gets too busy and I don't work out for 4 or 5 days in a row, which is what has happened the past couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
my mood is affected for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm, despondent, but
It's not horrible.
I do notice that I'm not as upbeat and
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
as I normally am. And you're right, like if you don't take care of all the areas,
Yeah.
all the 5 areas,
Mhm.
it affects all the other 5,
It does.
all the other 4.
It does.
And like today, I went and worked out today.
Yeah.
And I'll work out tomorrow. And we do meditation, we do prayer.
Yep.
Started our day with prayer,
Yes.
and we do meditation.
Yes. We did that
Meditation is
today.
just a simple mental technique to achieve deep relaxation
Yeah.
and release stress.
Yeah.
And it really works.
It really works.
Really works well. And so that's a discipline we've done
Mhm.
since we met each other.
Yeah. He
And-
taught me how to do that when we first got together. The thing that I was thinking about when you're talking about that too is when we first got married. We got married in October of 91. Okay. So that January of 92, I started setting goals. We actually together
That's right.
would
We did.
write individual goals, and then together as a couple would
Yeah.
write what we wanted to accomplish.
Mhm.
And so I made a decision that I was going to read the Bible for the very first time all the way through,
Mhm.
and I had never done that before.
Mhm.
And as I'm listening to you talk, I realized that was one of the areas, the spiritual area,
Yeah.
that I was really, really building up in my life.
Mhm.
It was built up in the sense that I had a relationship with God when you and I got together,
Mhm.
but I didn't have as much discipline or as much time in the Word.
Mhm.
And it had not become, the prayer had become a routine, but the reading of the Word and going
Right.
to church had not been a routine.
Mhm.
And every one of those things, the reading of the Word, the going to church, the saying the prayers, they all add up into that whole spiritual lifestyle
Mhm.
that helps increase the happiness. It
really
really
does.
has built my happiness.
Yeah.
So I did that the first year.
Mhm.
And then I realized I did it I did it as a total for 7 years straight.
You did.
That was gigantic, really gigantic.
I thought it
loved
was
that.
great. I
loved
did.
it. It really made such a difference of when we were going to church and then the pastor was talking about, about this thing in the Bible. And I thought, oh, I know about that. That was
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I love these 5 areas of life. And, that was a spiritual, the physical area, you mentioned that you worked out today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working out basically all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I was growing up, we always had a swimming pool. And I always swam. I was like a little fish in the water. I loved it. So, in fact, my mom would say, "Oh, Susan, it's time for you to get out." And I would just be sitting there shivering with my teeth chattering and my fingers were like all pruned. I said, "Oh, no, 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 not yet, not yet." So I always loved swimming, which I think really laid a great foundation for me physically.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, I got a trainer. I remember the first trainer I ever got, I think I was 35.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I would go to classes. I would take, this was back, something else that was funny is you mentioned 8-track. We
Yeah.
may have people listening that don't have any idea what 8-track even is.
Yeah, it's like a CD. It's a CD.
It's a bigger CD.
Yeah, prehistoric CD.
I love that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they had them in our time.
I was just thinking about my first trainer.
Yeah.
He was doing life, and he was. The funny thing about a lot of the prison weightlifting guys.
Yeah.
They look like T-bone steaks. I mean, they're like massive arms, shoulders, chest, and bird legs. Which reminded me of like Mighty Mouse when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because they didn't work the legs, but they
Yeah.
were like massive
Yeah.
up top from the waist up. And
So that's where you started.
he was my trainer.
He
Yeah.
was your trainer.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Kind of a passive trainer. I just watched him work. I did what he did. I didn't say, "Will you show me, what to do?" No.
Yeah.
I just watched what
I
they
love
did,
that.
and I
love
did
that.
did what they did.
And then financial, I want to touch on financial.
Yeah.
Because when Jim and I got together, Jim has always been really good about money. And
I have.
we always believe that within any relationship, whoever is best at doing something,
Hmm.
they take that on. And
Yeah.
so when we got married, he immediately took on the managing the money because I was really good at making money and I was also really good at spending money. So it took me a while. And fortunately, it never caused any huge rifts with us. But
No.
it was something that was a process for me
Mhm.
to really, really learn the importance of why it is important to manage money. And in financial, I had the earning capacity where I was doing well in that aspect of my financial area of my life.
Yeah.
In managing the financial area of my life, though, I wasn't doing as well.
Mhm.
And so there was a whole concept to me that I had never really even thought of, and that was called live below your means.
Yeah.
I want to say that is a really good concept.
Yeah.
And it's a concept that I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Mhm.
And we got finally in our partnership together, and your patience with me,
Mhm.
and my willingness to change and grow and learn.
You were definitely willing.
I was very willing, and so we've really gotten good in that area. So we both really love doing the physical part.
Mhm.
And it's not just the individual workouts. We like to go for walks with each other. We actually did a 5K the end of last year and last fall, and that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
I've always loved to power walk, and so that was kind of a fun thing to do.
Mhm.
And then the spiritual part, I talked about my journey on that.
Mhm.
Yours was like, what a powerful spiritual conversion you actually
I
had.
did. I had a powerful spiritual conversion.
Yeah, that was
And we've always
awesome.
read. We read 4 books a year,
Yes.
at least.
Yeah, that gets us into our mental part, you know?
And
A
the
minimum of 4 books a year.
and the emotional aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You do all those others,
Yes.
and your emotions
Yeah,
are very manageable.
right.
Being married for 30 years, if we have anything come up that we can't deal with or don't know how to deal with
Mm-hmm.
or need advice in dealing with,
Yeah.
whether it's with each other or with family members, because that happens,
Yeah.
the therapist is the way to go because they hear thousands of stories
Right.
about families.
Right.
And they can say, well, start doing this, try
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Here's a coping skill. Here's a way to deal with that, them, this. And every
Yeah,
good
it's
marriage
good.
needs a good
It's
therapist.
very good.
The money aspect, money is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
In any relationship, whether you're individual or married. And I can remember some of the first group of girls we mentored,
Mhm.
one of them said, when we talked about, setting up a budget and saving money,
Right. Yeah.
and it can't always just be about you. You have to donate money too.
Right.
You
Oh, is
know,
that important?
If you don't belong to a church, donate to whatever your cause is,
Right.
whatever your charity is.
Yeah.
You can't just be you. And I'll never forget, she says, when she confided to me like a year or two later, she says, I couldn't even live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
I didn't know how the heck I was going to save money and then give money.
Mhm.
And today she's married, 2 kids,
Oh yeah.
owns her own home in
Yep.
California, which is a big deal.
That's a huge.
Has a
deal.
great job, and no debt
Yeah.
other than the home. And yeah, it's all possible. I don't care who you are,
Or what age you start at.
It doesn't matter.
Or where you're at.
Every day's
you know.
brand new. Every day's brand new
Yeah.
to start all of this
Mhm.
and change your life.
Yeah. And we love Dave Ramsey. Dave
Mhm.
Ramsey is another awesome tool that's available to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. Just go onto his website, RamseySolutions.com,
hmm
and then we teach Dave Ramsey.
hmm
We've taught it at our previous church, and we teach it now at
Mhm.
the Christian Ministry Leadership Academy, where we teach a communication class, which I've mentioned briefly,
hmm
and we teach about finances.
hmm
So, communication is really good. That falls really into all those areas.
It
Because
does.
you really want to be able to learn how to be able to talk about anything.
hmm
And what that means is you want to walk through your fear.
hmm
A little thing we learn in AA: walk
Sure.
through your fear,
Yeah.
watch it disappear.
hmm
But you have to be able to talk about things. And there's so many definitions of success. And what we really feel is the true definition of a successful person
Mhm.
is someone that can effectively manage their emotions.
That's true.
And in fact, I want to just kind of like throw in a little comment about, have you noticed the dogs are really good today?
They are.
Maggie's actually part of it today, and Sheena's down at my feet, which you can't see.
hmm
But they're managing their emotions extremely well today.
They are.
They knew we were
Yeah.
going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. I guess that's about it for this time.
Yeah, the
You know?
5 areas of life.
Mhm.
So let's recap this really quickly.
Yeah.
The 5 areas of life in Managing Life 101, it's important that you learn how to manage each one of these 5 areas.
Mhm.
And the 5 areas are the emotional part of your life, your mental life, your physical life, your financial life, and your spiritual life.
Mhm.
Those are 5 areas. Look at
Mhm.
their one hand, this hand, you have them balanced, you
Mhm.
are solid.
Yeah, you got to do something
Yeah.
in each of those 5 areas,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be very little at the beginning, but something.
Something. Do something. Start, all it does is, this is a great, I heard when I first got sober, this young man share at the podium one time, he said, move a muscle and change a thought.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you with that today.
Mhm.
Move a muscle and change a thought. Take an inventory of where you at in those 5 areas of life.
Mhm.
And what would it be like if you're not at a 10 right now? Just think about what it would be like
Mhm.
if your life was at a 10 in each one of those areas. And let's not even push it to a 10. If you're at a 2, what would it be like if your life was pushed up to a 7 or an 8?
Mhm.
It's awesome.
And it all happens one day at a
Yes,
time.
one day at a time.
One day at a time. You only
Yeah.
have today.
Yeah.
What can I do today
Yep.
to nurture
Mm-hmm.
and uplift those
That's
5
right.
areas,
That's right.
whatever little?
Well, that about wraps it up for us today, and that's Managing Life 101. And you know what we say, if you're not managing your life's going to manage you.
Amen.
Bye-bye.